Hey there, and welcome to another episode of One Email, Two Takes, the weekly sales hacker show where myself, Will Allred, and my co-host, Christina Fensa, take emails that are either sent to us or sent to us for feedback specifically for the show. And we offer our two takes, our perspectives. So you don't only get just like a teardown, but you also see how we rewrite it. And yeah, in case you haven't seen the show before, I'm Will Allred. I'm one of the co-founders of a company called Lavender. We help sellers write better emails faster. So one of the things I bring to the table is the 2 million plus emails that we see on a monthly basis and what we're learning from that. Christina?
Yeah, and I'm Christina Finseth. I'm obviously an advisor for Lavender, but I also work in outbound growth marketing for a company called Greenhouse. And I would like to say that cold email is probably my bread and butter. I talk about it till I'm blue in the face most days. So yeah, excited to be here. And if you're joining us for the first time, we've got a really special episode, don't we, Will?
We do. We not only have a cold email to break down, but we also have the follow-up that came after it. So this is actually an email cadence that was sent to me. I guess you could call it a cadence.
Two steps.
Yeah, but I thought it was an interesting example because I'm always asked, well, Will, how would you follow up on an email like that? And so I thought, why not just show y'all? So see here, I've got double whammy up, subject line, RE, follow up. So first and foremost, I hate when people do this, where they fake the RE at the front. It's cheesy, don't do it. Like people read the email and they're like, that's obviously fake. Because once you respond to it, right, then you get like a double RE. And so I'm like, okay, well now I know you faked it. Okay, so follow up, whatever. Hi, Will. Our company is the only all-in-one software for corporate spend, expense, and travel management. We've just been named #1 again across all 3 of those categories on G2. I thought our value offering might align with some of your strategic initiatives as you scale. Given that Lavender qualifies for our free growth package, I'd love to show you how similar companies are automating disparate processes using company name. Would it be worth connecting with the team to share more? Kindly, your neighborhood sales rep. Okay. It's not the worst email I've ever seen, but like it's so like front load heavy. Look how great I am at the front. Like Christina, you mentioned this when I showed it to you the first time. I'm curious, like what your first like feedback is on it.
To your point, it's not the worst. Like from a length perspective, I probably would break it up a little bit more, but it's not terribly long. I do not like the fake out in the subject line. That's not my favorite, but it's like, hey, Will, we're super great. You should have heard about us. And we're #1 again. Like that's how I read it. And I'm like, okay, we haven't even gotten to the part where I'm like, what's your observation and why you think you can help me? It just feels very braggy in the beginning. And takes a while to get to the point. So yeah, you've already lost me. As soon as I read the first sentence on this one, Will, I was like, oh.
Yeah, it hits the mental spam filter just hard as they come.
Hard. Yeah. Hard. So yeah.
What's interesting too is this like second half, given we qualify for some free growth package, like you don't even know if it's priority. So why are you already offering me free stuff? Right. I guess it's like risk reduction, but I just don't think of that as like good selling.
Well, and the other piece here is I feel like with this particular company saying, they're all in one on corporate spend, expense, and travel management, I would almost like try to focus on just one of those use cases and try to figure out how that applies to, or how it could apply, make a smart assumption, right, on how that could apply to my outreach to you, right? So I think it feels too less drilled in than it should be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. It's a bit all over the place. So this was the first email, and then they followed up with this. And this is actually what caught my attention because I was like, did that just come into my inbox? uh, because like it starts off with this weird apology of, well, apologies if I haven't provided you with any value up to this point. Here's a link to a Forrester total economic impact report. Number, some benefit statement, worth a 10-minute chat this week. It's like very just like, here's a garbled list of thoughts. Also in bold.
Oh,
I didn't understand this.
yeah, it's also just not tied back to value prop. Like I get that they have the bullets and they feel like that might be value.
Mhm.
But it doesn't really tie back how this company fits in and how it can help. I see what they're trying to do, and I can appreciate that they're trying to use some external, reputable content. But I will tell you, as someone who comes from marketing, some of those are like pay to play.
Yeah,
And so they do hold a lot of weight. Like Forrester is definitely reputable. So I wouldn't say it about Forrester, but like some of the other ones, I'd be like, okay, great. I know this is going to talk about how great you are again, right? Versus like
really.
something that's just topically focused, which I won't spoil my rewrites, but yeah, the bold
The
doesn't
bold.
help. And no, it's not worth a 10-minute chat. And yeah, you haven't provided me any value up to this point. I have no freaking clue how you want to help me.
Yeah,
Period.
well, I think one of the things that like I struggled with here is it's just kind of like, here's some Forrester report on company, and then like there's no real tie-in between that and bullet points.
Yeah.
Where like, you could easily just wordsmith this to where it says like Forrester did a report on our economic impact. Here's a couple of the highlights. Yeah,
Yeah.
53% ROI on what?
Yeah.
20% gain in productivity related to what? And
Well,
then overall enhancement of what kind of employee experience is too vague. There's nothing for me to wrap my head around.
it's too vague. But then in my brain, if for some reason I did pay attention and connect the dots between this email and the last one, I'm like, ROI, what am I investing considering you're giving me a free growth package? Like I'm very confused on how
Okay.
this probably applies to me. This probably applies more to enterprise as a follow-up.
Yeah.
Just given Forrester and what they're trying to share here. I'm like, the 2 points don't even connect either. So it's
I didn't even think of that. Yeah. Well, and to your point, will somebody be paying attention in the inbox? The average
yeah,
time per
probably not.
email is now down to 10 seconds as opposed to last year where it was 11 seconds. So the likelihood that they're paying attention as they fly through their inbox is not true.
True. True.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
We beat this thing up. Okay.
We did.
Let's go into some rewrites. So I guess mine's first. All right. So I'm trying a new format for the opener here. The thought process is very simple. Most cold emails are asking one of the same type of question, especially if you're using an interest-based CTA, which is, hey, is this a priority right now? If so, we should have a conversation, right? That's basically what I'm saying is this interesting? What I'm doing with this take here is I'm repositioning that and I'm just trying to start conversation by saying, is this your current scenario? I'm not asking if something's a priority. I'm just asking if I've got my assumptions correct before we continue the conversation. And so it's a slightly different take on what you would usually see in a cold email. So the subject line is next trip, and then a little bit of a pattern break up top where I put the observation in front of the greeting. So I'll say, is William back in New York City yet? Will. What that does is it basically says like, hey, I've clearly done some research. This isn't just a mass produced email. Talking with remote teams, travel is starting to ramp back up. Usually planning and managing that gets hectic as you scale. So I'm basically doing here is just adding credibility. So I'm stating my understanding of, typically with teams like you, this is what I see happen. And so the next question is, are you seeing this yet? I'm essentially qualifying you with an email that's easy to respond to. And since it's so personal, it's got a stronger likelihood of getting a connect. What are your thoughts on this? It's sort of a different take on how to approach.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, first of all, you're kind of shouting out your observation without calling it an observation, right? Like, show me you know me. You've been researching the founders and you could tell that William was away, right? And now he's coming back. So I like that part. It's kind of smart. And I also like that you're just trying to get a conversation started. And like you said, gut check what you feel is a very valid assumption, I believe, about the marketplace in general. And what I like about this is that, okay, let's just say they aren't sure they're going to respond yet. First of all, there's a low barrier to getting a response to this, right? I could easily just say, yeah, we're seeing it, or no. And by the way, I'm not interested in the company. It's very easy. You're kind of asking more than one question, even though you're just asking this question, right? But at the same time, like, it may make me curious enough to be like, why is he asking me this? Let me check out the company in the signature block. And you're probably going to drive more traffic. You might even get a lift on inbound once this person does their research. But yeah, I think this is a smart first move.
Cool. Okay. So then, the natural question is like, how do you follow up to an email like this? So I wrote a sort of a different take on basically the same thing. But I just started to introduce what we do now. So I'm now basically saying like, hey, I asked this question. Let me clarify why I asked it, without saying, hey, well, let me clarify why I'm asking, because that's a waste of space. So I say, hey, Will, is the team traveling much right now? We built a platform for easily managing and tracking these expenses. If you're thinking about getting back in front of customers, let's chat. So pretty simple. I try to keep it really, really short, and back to the same point, really low barrier to response. I'm looking for, that feeling when like somebody slacks you an easy to answer question, you just like impulsively respond back. That's kind of what I'm going for with this.
I love this. And I think they're very short and concise. And I love how you kind of unfold the story a little bit more by sharing more of a reason of why you're reaching out in the follow-up, by saying, hey, here's what we do and how we fit into this and why this might be relevant. So
yeah,
I like it.
Well, thank you.
I'm realizing my emails might be a tad bit longer than yours, but that's okay.
Well, I went like super short. So
you did.
That's a lot of people would be like, well, it just doesn't have a lot of context for them to grab onto. So let's go through yours. I'm excited.
Yeah, I took a different approach here, and I assumed that you might want to do an offsite soon with your new hires. So that's why my subject line is Lavender Team Offsite, thinking that might be like a jazzy reason to get you to open. And I just say, hi, Will, noticed you recently added 2 new folks to the team. Congrats on the growth, right? Like Dorothy and, oh gosh, Dorothy and, I don't want him to get mad at me. Josh, I knew it started with a J. I wanted to say James, but it's Josh. Sorry, Josh. With a distributed team, curious if you've been planning a team get together offsite soon, because I know they're not where you're at, right? By doing some research. Reason I ask is company helps companies like Lavender with travel management. And I did throw in, like, we happen to have a free growth plan in case it's enticing. And if you're interested in seeing how we can help get the band together sooner rather than later, let me know. Cheers, Rap. So mine's a little bit more fluffy, but I'm trying to play on the emotions of team growth and wanting to get everyone together.
Yeah, which, like, if you used our product, Lavender, you pull up my personality and you'd be like, wow, this person is really people oriented. And then this would be a perfect way to position the value prop towards the fact that I'm a people person more than anything. So it's like, if you just tell me like, hey, yeah, this is gonna like kumbaya us all together, I'm like, Oh, that sounds great.
Now I've just planted the seed for your team offsite. But anyway, yeah. So I kind of took that approach. And then for the follow-up, I feel like it gave me a great assist. So instead of sharing a report, which I think is still very powerful and relevant, it could have been a PS, that Forrester report, to a better email. I took it a different approach, and I'm like, all right, let me think about the value prop that our product provides, right? Or our service or whatever. And let me look for articles around this topic. So in this example, I actually said, I Googled how important is a team offsite for startups. And I'm like looking through the content, trying to find something relevant. So I found this Salesforce blog. So I was like, well, thought I'd share a recent Salesforce blog on how team offsites positively impact employee experience. So again, I'm tying this back to the first reason I reached out. And then I go a little bit further, and if it makes sense, right, would love to see how company can help Lavender get together this year without worrying about expenses and travel management, open to exploring. So I also kind of like layered in a little bit more of what we do, right? And a little harder like call to action here, in the sense that now I'm asking you, like, are you open to exploring? But that was the way I kind of positioned this follow-up.
So there's two things about this that I really like, right? If somebody's like gonna be like, well, what about like the Lavender best, like, let's start with the first one. So like if somebody's gonna like be like, well, what about like Lavender's best practices on like, cutting a lot of the fluff, making it shorter, making it like more tight. I always come back to, look how personal this is. Look how warm and informal and friendly this is. That will overcome a lot of those things within the writing, because I'm like, okay, this is one very clearly written for me. So I will read it top to bottom. I think people underestimate the impact of that. But two, it's written in a way where I'm like, I'm talking to a friend I just haven't met yet. And that's just gonna that's gonna pull me through and keep me open to the message that's within this. Then with the follow-up, one of the things you said, and I never hear sales reps saying they do this, is like doing the research to like know your stuff, right? You did like a quick Google search to say, why is this important anyways, right? And so like starting to build credibility on your own throughout, like, the company is not going to like force feed you everything you need to know. It's got to be some of it's done yourself. And so like taking that initiative, just run a quick Google search, like, hey, who else is doing this? How are they doing it? Is there a way they could do it without our software? Like, is there, a smart way to approach this that, I could potentially pair up with our software that would be cool for them to understand? Or just like this, like, what's the impact of this overall? So that like there's another way that I can speak to it. I see so few sales reps doing that extra bit of homework.
Well, and the thing is like, I want to make 2 points here. One is, I'm sharing a true value add. This is something that they could read and implement and utilize. It has nothing to do with our tech, but I'm hoping that by being the one to surface it, that they might have, have it in their heart to have a conversation, right? But then the second part is, I've never worked for this company, and I don't even fully know everything that they offer. And it took me literally less than a few minutes to find something that I could use for this. That should tell you how quick and easy it is if you're thinking in the right way.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the things that you taught me is this, like, detach yourself from your first party information and use third party details. Because if you recall, you built out some awesome messaging for us. And one of the emails you sent had a like third party blog from I believe it was actually no, it wasn't Sales Hacker, it was Outreach's actual blog. And I got a response from somebody that said, wait, aren't they a competitor? Which, like, no, they're not. But it was a funny concept of like, what if you sent like your competitor's blog post? It's like, it's just a good blog post. Like, yeah, I'm happy to send that. if it's helpful, it's helpful, right? I think most marketing teams would be like, oh, how could you?
I
But
did kind of cringe a little bit when you just said that, only because I'm thinking about things like website traffic increase
yeah,
for our competitor and retargeting that they're doing
yeah.
off of that. But just
But what if you get that reply on like 10% of those emails where somebody says, wait, did you just send me a competitor's blog post? It's
yeah,
such
but
a
it's really
pattern,
good. Yeah.
pattern interrupt that like they might just be like, wait, did you just do that? Especially if like there's intent
Ooh.
because they're already like looking in the space and you just like totally throw them for a loop by being like, I'm going to send you my competitor's blog because I thought it was just really helpful, and even call it out in the email.
Ooh, okay. I think we just found out who's gonna A/B test that. Hello, Josh.
I
Josh.
don't know.
I need to know the results, please. But anyway, well, this was a longer episode than normal just because we took 2 emails and did 4 rewrites. Double whammy. What is it? Whammy, no whammy. I don't even know what that
What is that from? I remember that.
Anyway, but thanks for joining us. How you get this video, Sales Hacker YouTube, and signing up for Sales Hackers newsletter, which comes out every Tuesday, and our episode is dropped right in there. So we'll
And
see you next time.
Usually a little shorter, but
A little shorter, but we hope that it was value packed
yeah,
and made you laugh and smile a little bit.
awesome.
All
Until
right,
next time.
bye.